Q&A session after the film called The Jump, a Lithuanian film by lovely director Giedre Zickyte, who is there with us today, not physically, but online, as the rest of the festival is online. So welcome, Giedre.
Hello.
First of all, I would like to ask about if you could say a few words about your previous work so that we could put it a little bit in a context of the film that we have just seen.
Yes, The Jump is my third feature-length movie. And in some of my past films, I was also looking for the dramatic stories and for the people searching for freedom. And maybe it's because I was myself born in the Soviet Union and I was 10 years old when Lithuania became free. So I will never forget that feeling and this taste word called freedom. So maybe that's why the subject is so much important for me and also in my previous films and in upcoming work maybe too.
So what are your earliest memories from back then, from the time of the Soviet Union?
Because now we are like in Czech Republic, so I can tell you that the Czech at that time Czechoslovakia, even it was behind the Iron Curtain like Lithuania, but you were not occupied. So for us, Czechoslovakia already seemed, it looked already like a Western country from our perspective. Because still it looked like you had more freedom, you had more, to compare with the countries that were, part of the Soviet Union, not satellite countries, but like Baltic countries, which were like part. And my first ever foreign trip was to Czechoslovakia when I was 7 or 8 years old. We were going to visit some friends of my parents. And I will never forget that kiwi, like this fruit kiwi, first I tried and I saw in Czechoslovakia. And Barbie doll I also saw in Czechoslovakia. And this is, so that was my palm trees, that was my paradise, looked my...
Okay.
It was in 1987. It was in 1987. Yes,
right.
before the Berlin Wall fell off. And of course, I mean, I can tell that was like a magnificent story. We're going by the train, and I remember all this border control, really, that I was panicking. And I remember that fear that we are doing something wrong, but we were not doing, we just wanted to travel. So, yeah, but basically, and my memories later, the most vivid memories were when all the revolution started and when we all became, free. So that's...
So thank you for sharing your early childhood memories. I just would like to remind also the audience that you can ask questions. Our guest today, Giedre Zickyte, either using a raise hand function on Zoom or even asking directly by asking a question. And all our session is video recorded, therefore you can also watch it later. And we will still not see the audience face because of the GDPR. So let's get to your film, The Jump, which says a story about Sima Skudrinka, Kudirka, sorry for my pronunciation, who was this famous exile refugee, we could say it in the modern terminology. And it's his life story. And you use some reconstruction method as well. So can you describe us, how did you encounter him? How did you come up with his story? And because it's a very intriguing story indeed. So can you give us a little bit of insight?
Yes, interestingly, I heard about that story when I was myself in the United States with my another movie. So we didn't know much about this here in Lithuania. And of course, I got very surprised. I mean, I just heard like a few sentences, like somebody asked me from the audience, have you heard about the guy who jumped from Soviet ship for freedom? And, this metaphor, jumping from one chip into another for something, it really just hit me. And I started digging in more and searching more information about this. And so now we're watching this after the movie, yes? So I can tell already. So
Actually, not exactly. We can
okay.
still watch the film during the whole duration of the festival.
Okay.
So don't reveal too
Because
much.
this story has so many twists and turns. So it's like, like a stranger in fiction, as you say. So I'm not now I'm just thinking how to tell about that story, not revealing too much.
Mhm.
But yes, I found that my character is alive, and I visited him, I met with him, and that's how we started the journey. And of course, when we met, at that moment, he was taking care about his wife. His wife was very sick. She was still alive back then. And I could hardly ever imagine that we will go and travel together to the United States, to relive his journey. But for me, it was already a challenge to have a time for him just to talk with him, because he was really busy just caring about his sick wife and living in this place where you will see in the film where he lives right now. But in documentaries, it's everything about the time and everything about getting to know each other and getting to know your character and character the same, getting to know you and realizing your motivation, understanding your devotion to the story. And I saw that the character is just such a charismatic, such an artistic man. And I was looking for various ways how to tell that story, because I felt I didn't want just like to talk, just to make an interview, because it's such an action film and it's her. So that's why I decided, okay, we need to relive it. We need just to go through the traces of the story together, and I need to get that ship, the same ship where he jumped in, because I found out that it's still functioning, it's still sailing. And to tell the truth, it took me 1.5 years to get permission to film on that ship, because it's United States Coast Guard, it's US territory, it's a military ship, and we are foreigners, so to make all the clearances, and the ship still is functioning, we needed to find a gap when we can sail with it. I mean, it took really such a long time to get into the ship, but when we finally appeared there, really, the Coast Guard, they were so supportive, they really helped, everybody knew the story there. And, Captain, like, oh my God, he told, I was learning about the story in our high school, in our university, in like a Coast Guard academy after, and he was so happy to see Sima. So I just let them to talk, and then we could film after that. And of course, most important for our character, it was so emotional. And in the beginning, of course, I got like my director's plan, how I'm going to direct, what he's going to do. But at some point, I just realized, no, I mean, no directing. Reality is the best director. And I just need just to go after my character and let the camera just follow him, because I just felt that my directing can intervene into him. And at some point, and that's, I think, the most emotional scenes from the movie. And at the same time, on the one hand, you think, okay, it's something like the audience can realize, I am bringing this man in his 90s to the film to reenact the story, to make it's something like, it can be, okay, artificial or something made like my decision. But it was so true for this character, it's somehow that you start believing, and you don't feel this, that somebody is directing him. He was, because it was for him, truth, emotionally. He really relived it. He really experienced, and it was like therapy. So that's why in the editing room, I just kept all my, what to do with, because I've shot much like more things that I planned. And yeah, and at the end of the day, I just left my character on his own. And I think he made a past come alive, and a past becoming like it's happening right now. I mean, you see him alive, he survived. But at some point, even myself watching him, I was catching myself, oh, will he survive or not?
Yeah. Okay, we have the first question from the audience. How was Mr. Kudirka perceived by broad public in Lithuania after he tried to defect? Was he as a hero or more as a traitor?
It was, 1 second, I still have to close it. Oh, okay, just technical things. It was, of course, so first of all, there were no official news in Lithuania because the Soviet press were not writing about it for the obvious reason. They didn't want to inspire others to do the same thing. And, but the story went in the form of rumors, in various rumors. Mm-hmm. And certainly there were different approaches to the story. On the one hand, I think he was never treated as a traitor, like a homeland traitor. No, the thing that he was sentenced for. But there were, of course, people were talking. Many people who worked in the ships, they got, they had to go to the court, they had to witness, they couldn't go to the sea, they were losing jobs for some time. So of course his story was not pleasant, for everyone. And of course the question of family, so it raised many contradictory issues. But, we think the story, the fact, what it made for the people, for the societies outside Lithuania, it was actually the first time when people from Iron Curtain countries got the chance with that story to tell what's going on behind the Iron Curtain, to show, that people are suffering there. I mean, the story gets so much attention from media, so much attention from political leaders. So Simas became as a symbol. So it was, less, it was not like, it was like, he became as a tool to tell a bigger story. Mm-hmm. And then, for many other people, it was really important because through him, we could tell the story of people who were suffering behind the Iron Curtain.
So in that case, I don't understand how come when you said this story, you were in the US and someone asked you about him, that you didn't hear about him before, when you say now that he was already like quite famous and considered as a hero.
No, but he was famous and considered as a hero in United States.
Oh, in the United, okay.
Yeah, outside. And here, I mean, I hadn't heard because, it happened exactly 50 years ago. It was November 70s. Mm-hmm. And I don't have myself, sailors in the family. So, and we didn't study it in our history lesson. Maybe now our generation is already studying. And also, I mean, we had like some famous defection stories, and they are all like mixed together. Somebody hijacked the plane, somebody, tried like with a, and we are all mixed together. So it's like a kind of, something heard. I heard something, but it's, yeah. And the same for now when I'm talking with people here in Lithuania also, I realized that not so many people heard about that story before. Even, now our character, he got award from government later. And it was also in the media. Yeah, but still.
Yeah, so we can say that he's more famous in the United States than in your own country.
Definitely. When you will see the movie, you see later what United States, how also media used him in many ways. So
yeah, and it's actually when I was doing a little bit of research on your topic, I saw that there was even a film made in the United States in 1978. It was a TV docudrama directed by David Lowell Rich called The Defection of Simas Kudirka. So his story was already covered in the late 70s in the United States.
Yeah, it was like a fiction film, and I also used it also plays part in my film, this fiction film, like part of Simas' journey. And this film was made, but this film was telling only the story, what happened on the ship. And in my film, you also see what happened after. And I'm also using this film a kind of a tool to tell what happened to Simas after later. Okay, I'm just thinking how to tell, not to tell too much. But what is very interestingly, this film, who, by the way, won like 2 Emmys and was nominated for 4 Emmy Awards, and it's starring Alan Arkin, a very famous American actor. This film was included into the school reading programs across all over America. Like every year, a CBS television was picking like one story, one film that we are showing across the country, and we were partnering like with a large newspaper and media organizations. So they published the script of the film, and children who are in the schools, they are just watching this film, reading the script, and that's how we were learning about the Cold War, how we were learning about the occupation, about the Soviet Union from Sima's story. And that's why later we were just writing letters to Simas and everywhere. So this film had like not only like a film, but also it was used as a teaching method and a teaching tool.
And are you aware of similar stories from the Baltic states?
Yeah, there was about defection.
Yes.
Yeah, there was another also story that also Hollywood made film about it called
Right.
Red October, and it was starring like Sean Connery was starring. Yeah, so we had like few famous defectors, and all their stories turned into like some movies. Yeah, in the
And
United.
can you maybe tell us how is the approach toward these political asylum seekers from the Soviet Union these days in the United States? Are the Lithuanian communities living in the United States still big and alive, or?
Yeah, it's a very huge community because before Second World, like when Second World War started, there was such a huge immigration, right? Also in your country and in many other countries, and yeah, just many people were running, from repressions, and they settled in United States, and it was very huge. It's very huge community, and actually, thanks to these communities, they they started all this demonstration and all the process. So it started, Lithuanians, Latvians joined, then Czechs, all the other country, all the other, like refugees from Iron Curtain countries, and then Americans joined the movement. So for me, maybe that's the most beautiful part of this film, to see what society, what people, what we did, how they united their efforts to fight for one man. And for me, that was, the most brilliant, like miracle thing, what you can do for one man. And I was watching at this archive material that I found, and, seeing thousands of these people, just gathering and just working for it. I was thinking, my God, these days, we see children, dying at the shores. We see, near the Mexican border, mothers cannot meet their children, they're separating families. And, does it mean that we already used to that stories and nobody's not making such a huge reaction, like was that back then, just for one man, just a single person as Simas. So for me, it also shows how the world, has changed in these 50 years. It's a question, did we become more indifferent, or everything just, transferred into the social media, and we think it's enough, to put like a like on a Facebook and tell I support, it her, like je suis whatever, but these people back in that days, they made a real actions, like a real action. They were working. They not went only into the streets. They were writing letters. They were trying to push. It's like it was work of months, weeks, and years. It took 4 years of regular action. So for me, it was like I always get very emotional when I see that when somebody is doing something for the other person and devoting his time, I mean, for other person that we didn't know anything about. And that's really interesting why they did that. And I'm thinking maybe, Simas became a symbol. Maybe it was because in it was something, maybe all these people, who like these refugees who left their countries, maybe they had also like a kind of a certain guilt inside that, we are now, we are free, we live in a free country, and their relatives, friends, their nation is still suffering, so they found, so Simas represented them, all their nation that was, suffering behind this iron curtain. And it was also like a unique chance, to say to the world, to tell, look, this is the way, this is the situation. And even United States, they never recognized the occupation of Baltic countries, never, like officially. So even this act was illegal. I mean, when Simas jumped from Russian ship to American ship, and the admiral, United States admiral, gave the order to give him back, it all happened just because of his ignorance, just because of not knowing the facts. And what he had to do, he just needed to call the Lithuanian embassy that was still in exile, existing in the United States. So there are so many things, and political and emotional and historical, in one jump, because Simas just made one physical jump, and then, it all started.
Well, it was super interesting in the film when he said, or when the American admiral said that if it only happened 2 minutes later, then it would be a totally different story, right? That he really caught the very right moment when he could jump and get free.
Yeah, not the right moment, the wrong moment.
I mean, yeah.
Because if he jumps 2 minutes later, then he would not meet with Soviet officers. Yeah. He was, and then maybe everything, it would be so different. But Sima's story is so much full of all these occasions and accidents, starting from that, later with discovery of all these documents, it was just full of something, twist of fate, that.
And I thought it was amazing the amount of the archival material that you used in your film, especially the American archival material. How difficult was it to find and dig into the archives?
Yeah, it was like work, many years of work. And I already, but it's not my first film, and I'm working on the archive, so already can, I think, make a case studies. I know that with archives, what you have to do, you have never to give up. You always need to ask twice, because if somebody tells, no, I don't have anything, maybe you will call next day and maybe another person picks the phone and maybe he can find something. And I was trying various sources, like both private, television, whatever I could find. And the most interesting maybe thing what was connected with the archives was this film, The Defection of Simas Kudirka, which, I found like a very poor quality copy, which I was using for the editing. And when the editing was locked, as usual, when you do with the archives, when you lock the editing, you know the duration of the clip, and then you go and acquire rights, because you need to pay per seconds. And when I approached, you need to pay that and that amount, but sorry, we don't have any master file left because the film is old. And I was thinking, oh my God, I'm going to pay so much money, for quality that, goes into pixels. And I started Googling myself, maybe I will find some, DVD, something. And I found 16 millimeters reels on eBay.
Oh, wow.
Really, somebody was selling this film. So I bought it for 300 euros. We shipped to Lithuania, we scanned, and then we had, a perfect 4K resolution, for a big screen. Unfortunately, you cannot watch it now on a big screen, but maybe one day it will happen. So it's also, not only about it's finding the source and then fighting to find the best quality possible of the source. And it's been really a long journey.
How many years of work on this film?
It was, I need to see. More than 1 year, more than 2 years. Like all the movies, they take time, they take long. It doesn't mean that every day you do that, but I can tell there was one archive that I couldn't find, that I think I got almost everything what I was aiming for the film, except one. The KGB interrogator that you see in the movie, he told that when Simas was taken back to the Soviet Lithuania and he had to meet him in the ship, there was with him was also a DOP, like a cameraman and
Yeah.
they were filming for KGB. So they filmed how they go, the doors open,
Mm-hmm.
and Simas goes out with the handcuffs. He goes out,
Mm-hmm.
and the handcuffs suddenly broken and we fell off. And Simas tells, you see, you even cannot make a good quality in the Soviet Union
Okay.
of these ones. And all that was, also film. I mean, how he was taken from the ship to
Mm-hmm.
the KGB place. And I even had the name of the DOP who was filming that. But of course, as it was KGB material, I was trying to use all possible ways. Yeah, I don't know if still this material exists, but if it still exists, I would love to see it. So that was the only thing that I was searching for and really couldn't find.
Okay. And we should finish soon our discussion, but can you reveal us what new projects are you working on these days?
Yeah, I'm working on new film, and actually at this time, protagonist is a woman. Again, the same very dramatic, very passionate story, but now we will see a woman's story. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And in terms of financing, do you find it difficult during the pandemic to work on the movies? How is it for you personally?
Um, of course, it's difficult. It's difficult not maybe that much in terms of financing, but in terms on production and on filming. And yes, sure. I mean, this pandemic is, but somehow it's a headache for everyone. And so I don't know if I have a right to complain too much because everybody's suffering here. And we are doing the best what we can in this time. Even your festival is suffering. I mean, I was dreaming to come back to Jihlava I know how creative and wonderful your festival is. And meeting the audience, and nothing is to compare when you can meet somebody in person, talk and share, and to feel, and to watch a movie and feel the breathing of another person sitting next to you and laughing or seeing tears in his eyes. It's no online can replace it in the world. And
Yeah.
actually, I'm really worried. And people are now are frightened to go to the cinema. And I really worry, even when pandemic will be over, when this habit of going to the cinema will come back to society life. So this is maybe what I most worry about that all culture is really suffering, because bars and restaurants, people are still not that much afraid to go how to go to the cinema where we don't talk, we will just sit and watch like one direction. Yeah, but let's keep strong, and we will survive it. The same like, yeah, like we survived all the other, and pandemics and wars and iron curtains and politics. And maybe now we can really more feel refugees, how they can feel when they
Yeah.
can go where they want to go. I think now we are heading all the same situation.
Yeah, thank you for these nice thoughts and that you stay so positive about the whole situation, even though it's, as you say, challenging for all of us.
Accepting, maybe, yeah, not
Yeah,
positive.
accepting. Okay, yeah. So thank you for so much for joining us from Lithuania, if you are back home.
Yes, thank you
Uh,
so much.
and we wish to meet in person again in the future once the festivals and cinemas will be open. So it would be great to see you again live. And still, thank you for joining us, at least online, and sharing your thoughts and feedback and ideas about your film and the situation of Lithuania cinema and the pandemic situation. So thank you so much.
Thank you, and all take care and all the best for all of you.
And
Bye.
I would like to just remind the audience that you can watch the film still online until the end of the festival. So all the films are there, and with the accreditation you get the access for all the wonderful films that we have the pleasure to also talk to the filmmakers with. So thank you so much.
Thank you.